Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be taking a look at a Scizor budget deck from the set Temporal Forces. So I've been trying out a bunch of different Luminous Energy box decks recently, and unfortunately most of them are a bit too clunky. Which is a shame. It's a bit of a shame, but I can't bring myself to feature decks that just clunk up 3 out of 5 games, it's just one of those things. Like, there is still several Luminous decks that are kicking around that are pretty cool, but sadly they are pretty limited. And without Zoroark, just making most of these stage 1s work is pretty difficult, I will say that. And Reverse Energy is a bit flippant, to say the least. But yeah, I've got this Scizor deck here to showcase, and it's a very fun deck. It's of course not without its flaws, but we will talk about them. But honestly, if you just want my impressions as a budget deck, how I think of Scizor, honestly, I think this deck is a bit harder to put together than some other budget decks we have in Standard right now. You need a lot of different cards from different sets, which I think can be a bit of a underrated nuisance for some starting players, especially if, like, your local community or league doesn't really have masses of collections to pull from, basically. You do have to factor in most people don't have huge collections. Some people will, of course, but, not everyone has access to tons of different cards. On TCG Live, it's a very different story. You can just craft what you want, but, there's no real point in talking about logistics of budget on TCG Live, not when you can just craft Charizard, right? So it's a bit different on TCG Live, but IRL, I think Scizor is still a really solid pick. Still a pretty cheap pick as well, thanks to Zoroark rotating, funnily enough. But yeah, not many people believe in Scizor, sadly. But yeah, what does Scizor actually do? Well, for a single meta energy, punishing Scizors does 10 damage, which is important. The base damage of 10 is very important for this card. This attack does 50 more damage, however, for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play that has an ability. So basically, you're doing great damage if your opponent has at least 3 Pokemon in play with an ability. So at that point, you're doing 160, which times 2 is thankfully not 1 KO, but a 2 KO on basic EX Pokemon, which is very, very nice. We like to see that. And V-Stars, which is cool. It's unfortunately not enough to 2 KO Charizard, so you will have to either use a Maximum Belt A-Spec, or you'll have to use something like a Defiance Band and you get that card involved, or you will have to wait until they are silly enough, basically, to put 4 Pokemon in play with an ability, so you can do 200 damage at a time. But yeah, a very, very powerful card, but the very obvious flaw with this deck, and it's a very, very obvious flaw, right, is your opponent can try their best to play around this. And we can try our best to play around them playing around us, if that makes any sense. But at the end of the day, if your opponent has 1 Pokemon in play the whole game and it's just stacking loads of energy on, then this deck will really, really struggle to beat them. Now, we do have ways around that, and I'll go through them, of course, in this list. But, it is worth bearing in mind that a very smart player who kind of knows how to deal with Scizor is probably going to be, is going to turn this deck into a cakewalk, which is sadly a lot of players out there, which is unfortunate, of course. So this isn't a strictly very reliable deck. I'm kind of skeptical about these decks that rely on, your opponent not doing something. It's kind of like why I don't hold like Incineroar in high regard, because your opponent can play around it a lot. But, either way, Scizor is a bit more difficult, I think, to play around sometimes, because abilities are very common in this game and very useful. So yeah, we do have ways of getting around that, though. And we have, for example, Cramorant. Now, Cramorant isn't strictly the cheapest card in the world, but I couldn't really find a better substitute that was also cheap as chips. And at the end of the day, it's like a few dollars or a few quid. It's not like masses of money. But I guess, if you want to play this strictly quote-unquote budget, then you could remove Cramorant. But, still think it's a worthy inclusion. Also, if you're going to remove Cramorant, you might as well remove the Colress Draw Engine, which is a great aspect to this deck, by the way, but still something worth considering. But either way, Cramorant can attack for free if you have 4 more cards in Lost Zone. The only way we can actually put cards in Lost Zone in this deck is with Colress Experiment. So you do have to play at least 2 copies of Colress in the game to get this going. But still, 110 is quite nice. It just means we can KO some single prize Pokemon. So what I've noticed a lot of players try to do against Scizor is just attack with their own single prize attackers, and then you can go in and finish them off with a spit innocently, which is quite nice. We also have this Kleavor over here. Now, we don't play any double turbo, so what you'll have to do if you want to use Kleavor at all is attach a basic energy 1 turn, and then wait a turn and attach another basic energy. There used to be a format where that was a viable option and you could do that, but not anymore. It's a bit risky, especially without Raihan, but still, I think Kleavor's worth it with Route, doing 10 damage and 30 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So it is quite similar to punishing Scizors, but it is just very, very good against stuff like Iron Hands, which is very nice. So Future Box hopefully is a bit more tolerable, because Ampy very much will chew through you quite quickly, but either way, it gives you more of a fighting chance against those decks, and any deck really that wants to overbench. So yeah, Kleavor's quite a nice addition. Aside from that though, we have the patented Ember Special, a 2-2 line of Bibarel with Industrious and Scizors. Just a fantastic draw engine, and there's not really anything like it in Standard, so, you know. Curlia is... Well, I don't really like Curlia in this deck. I don't think you draw enough cards with it, and Codebreaker is just a bit flippant, so yeah. Codebreaker Curlia, I guess it's something to try out in the future, but for me personally, it's Bibarel all the way. I also play a Radiant Charizard in here as the Radiant choice. You don't have to play Radiant, again, if you're playing super cheap. But Radiant Charizard is 110% worth it because it means we can play Luminous Energy in the deck. And Luminous Energy will essentially allow us to, you know, attack with either Scizor or Radiant Zard, and Radiant Zard can do 250 in the late game, which is really good. Just allows us to KO a bunch of EX Pokemon and take 2 prize cards. So yeah, Radiant Charizard definitely worth it. We also have this Scyther, which not only has 70 HP, which is the magic number for Buddy-Buddy Poffin, but also has free retreat. So lovely. Means just means we can use it as a pivot basically and constantly promote them and retreat around. So yeah, very nice overall. As for the trainers, things get a little bit more spicy, but not super spicy. We have the aforementioned Colress experiment, just allowing us to chew through our deck and see more cards. The new Buddy-Buddy Poffin, which is great. I am playing Pokégear in this deck because I always get a bit scared if I don't have any tanky Pokemon, because I feel like your opponent can chew through your attackers very, very quickly. It's not like Ancient Box where you might have a bit more tankability, like if that's even a phrase, in the early game, but with this deck, you know, you're definitely losing Pokemon quickly, so you have to be able to find supporters quickly. So Pokégear, I think, is necessary. Still playing 2 copies of Iono though. 2 copies of Super Rod. I was playing 1 copy and then realized if I prize this or have to discard it earlier on, then yeah, that's just really bad. Earthen Vessel's a bit of a weird one, but I do quite like Earthen Vessel because it just allows us to just discard a useless card from hand and then grab 2 energy out the deck, and just means we can thin down for Bibarel if we want to. Also playing a Defiance Band because, you know, we'll probably go behind on prizes at least 1 turn of the game, so yeah. And therefore we're also playing Counter Catcher, which is nice for Arven because very heavy in the Arven count is quite nice for finding our items and our 2 cards. We do also play the Town Store as well. You know, I could definitely see Town Store being swapped out for literally any other stadium that helps the deck. So like Artazon, for example, which did come around in the same set as Luminous Energy. So there's definitely arguments there. Maximum Belt, I know this isn't a budget card, so to speak, IRL, and I'm just saying this because you can craft these for free online, of course, so IRL is a bit different. But if you want to play like a substitute, I would just say either something like another Defiance Band, so maybe like a Choice Belt, or, you know, some other kind of damage modifier. The only problem is there's not like many substitutions for that really. And honestly, I don't think there's any, there's nothing really, there's nothing in Standard that really adds damage, is there? There is, however, there is one thing I will say. There is this, I'll see if I can get it up. It's a Cobalion, I think. Is it a Cobalion? I want to say, it's a Cobalion. So this guy has the ability Justified Law, which says your basic Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Dark Pokemon, which isn't super great because it's not going to influence Scizor, but it will influence Cramorant. So you could use Cramorant to swing for 140 against Charizard if you really wanted to. I know that's not strictly helping you because you're not still 2-killing it at that point even then. You still have to get another Defiance Band, but, you know, something to consider at least if you're trying to modify damage. But yeah, playing Artazon in 1 Town Store, and then 4 shoes. I do like my shoes. These have been very helpful lately. And a Pal Pad, and a Switch, because I like Pal Pad. And then the 9 energy, we have 5 basic metals, and then the 4 luminous. So yeah, that's a deck list, and I'll see you all in the game next. Thank you for watching. Okay, so we've got a nice start against this Luminion. Now, what I'm looking for here really is a Poffin. I will take the Arven, however, because it'll be nice in the future. I will use a Trekking Shoes. I won't take that Arven, though, Be nice to see a basic of some kind, really. Okay, I'll take another Scyther. So I have the choice to play down Artazon and go grab a Bidoof, but what I might do actually is just leave it and see what my opponent does during their turn. Because I kind of want to see just what they're playing. You know, they could be playing Lugia, which is quite a popular build for Luminion. They could be playing Charizard, so yeah, okay, so it is Lugia. So Lugia is not like a terrible matchup by any stretch of the imagination, especially when they have Luminion already in play, which is quite nice. But they do play Collapse Stadium usually, which is going to be a pain, so that kind of negates Scizor quite hard. So hopefully it isn't too bad. But currently we are poking for about 60 damage, which, you know, isn't fantastic, but yeah, it's not great, but... So the question is, do I want to play down Artazon? I might want to play Artazon, actually. Yeah, we'll get Artazon down. I'll use this to grab a Bidoof's. Yeah, we'll grab Bidoof. And we'll see what else is in deck. Kleavor isn't terrible against some of the fighting weak attackers they have. Is there anything else in the deck that we need to know about? Not really, actually. Everything seems to be here that we need. Now we just kind of need to dig a bit for a Scizor. So we can take Bibarel. We can afford to lose an energy, and we'll just take these guys. So what to discard with Ultra Ball? I think it's going to have to be... It feels kind of bad actually just swinging for 60 here, but I think it's worth it to soften them up. So we'll discard Arven, and hopefully we don't start dead drawing with Colress. So yeah, we'll get rid of the Pokégear. I shall go get a Scizor. So we seem to have prized a Scizor actually, which is quite annoying. So yeah, we'll have to be careful we don't actually run out of attackers. But I will Poffin for a, well, just double Scyther, I guess, because there's no more Bidoof. We prized a Bidoof, so that's something else. But yeah, just a soft poke for 60. So what my opponent may or may not do is put just a single Archops in play, which, fair enough if they do that, that'll be very annoying. And then at that point, we probably have to kind of wait until they're in range of Charizard to do, to do Charizard in the late game. Because otherwise, it gets a bit annoying, really. Although, even if they just put one Archops in play, we're still doing 150, which is quite nice. Now there's the Snorlax, which is good for us, so that's another 50 damage. So we're currently doing 150 without Archops. If they put one more Archops in play, then we are doing... How much are we doing with one Archops? We're doing 200, so not quite enough. We do lose Bibarel, we do lose the Colress, which is quite annoying. We do get a new hand, which isn't terrible, actually. We do get the Arven. Arven is nice here. Arven is very nice here, actually. So if they get double Archops, how much are we doing? 250. So that will be enough to finish off Lugia. That's quite nice. And then after that, it's kind of just a bit of a prize race between us. And hopefully, we either have to find Rod or we get to take Scizor off the prizes. Because we might be in a bit of trouble, actually, if we can't find our stuff. And we have to try not to discard too many Luminous Energy, because Luminous Energy is really good in this matchup, because we need to use Radiant Charizard, really. So, yep. So the Ultra Ball for another Archops. I'm assuming they have something like Ultra Ball in hand, I'm guessing. I'm assuming. Okay, it was a Lugia. Fair enough. So we're going to use Jet Energy. I'm alright with this, to be honest. Yeah, because it means we can go for like a Counter Catcher play much later on in the game against this Lugia. So yep, cool beans for me. I'm alright with that. I shall set up... Wait, I'll Earthen Vessel, discarding the Poffin because we do not need the Poffin at all. Okay, it was only 3 Metal Engine deck. Did we prize Super Rod as well, actually? That's another thing. Okay, we didn't prize the Super Rod, that's good. So what I'm going to do is I'll just take the 1 energy. This is where things get a little bit tricky because I do want to establish Bibarel now. Ultra Ball feels really good, especially if we lose Bibarel. Although if they go after Bibarel, we'll still have Scizor to swing with, so I guess I'm not too fussed about losing that. Yeah. Well, yeah, this puts us in a bit of an awkward spot because we might not be able to find the Scizors easily, but we'll see. We shall have to see. I'm not going to play Arven this turn. I will, however, draw a few more cards with Bibarel, though. Just draw up a bit, see if we find another supporter for next turn. Okay, this is quite good. Can evolve up there. So this is quite the nice thing about Scizor, is you only need 1 energy to do anything, unless you want to use Kleavor. So we'll do Punishing Scissors for 160. So I'm quite happy with this position, so we could Counter Catcher for something potentially next turn, which is alright. So I have to see what my opponent does, I guess. They might just want the single Archops in play. Yeah, they might just want to do that, actually. So we're doing 160, which isn't really going to help for this guy. Yeah, it's a bit tricky, really. Missed energy into the Snorlax, fair enough. So they might just, yeah, they might just want the single copy of Archops and then rotate between, like, Cinccino, because Cinccino only actually needs 2 energy to KO a Scizor, so yeah, because then it's doing 140. I wonder if they've realized that or not. Hopefully for us they haven't, of course. Artazon, fair enough. No Archops though. Seems a bit risky. This is where having Counter Catcher might actually be a little bit annoying. Okay, just another Read the Wind. I don't want to do anything, actually. I mean, I don't need to do anything. Arven. Yeah, I'm not really digging for anything. There's no more Pokemon in deck, so I guess we'll just take 2 prize cards. I would like a Scizor here, though. That's okay, that's good. That is pretty good. So I'm guessing they want us to KO Luminion. That's a bit annoying. Has my opponent done anything? Not really. We can Colress here, but I don't think there's much of a point. And yeah, I think I like faintly know what my opponent is doing, which is, yeah, it's going to be quite annoying. But I'll attach a Luminous Energy to this Scizor. And they probably just want me to reduce their damage output to the point where I'm not like doing enough damage. But the problem, like this is kind of like the problem with Scizor and not playing Boss's Orders, is I can't really get around this strategy. Because after I've KO'd Luminion, they're going to be able to attack with Snorlax. and I'm not going to be able to want to kill Snorlax, which is really annoying. So yeah, that's definitely a bit of a pain. Okay. Yeah, 140. Attaches to a Lugia. That's a bit strange. That is a bit strange. I guess we're never going to get to use Counter Catcher, but at the end of the day, we can kind of just prepare for using the... Actually, I'll look through the deck using Poffin. At the very least, we can prepare for... see. Is there not an option to see all? No, okay, there is. Never mind. Yeah, so we've got Defiance Band, although we're probably never using Defiance Band or Counter Catcher in this game. Luminous Energy, got 2 copies of that. Okay, that's quite nice. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a weird game from here on out, but we'll see how it goes. So unfortunately my opponent is rather wise, and they are playing this pretty well. We do get the Super Rod, which is good. We do have a Super Rod deck anyway, but... Yeah, my opponent choosing to lead with Lugia here is a bit strange. You would think they'd want to attack with Cinccino first, but... Especially when we just need to KO Lugia to win, but you know, I'm not going to question it really. I mean, we're still only doing 100 damage then. But, okay, they decide to get double Archops. That's interesting. So I'm really surprised they did that. Yeah, that was... Yeah, do they even need Archops? Like, surely they just win with this Cinccino and Snorlax, because I don't do enough damage. But, yeah, okay. Interesting. So currently we are only doing 200. So, yeah, we're only doing 200. So we're not even doing enough to KO Lugia. So our opponent has given us this weird position whereby even if they choose to attack with a Cinccino or Snorlax this turn, we will go down to 1 prize in our next turn. So yeah, it's a bit strange, but we do have to get this Bidoof on the bench because, yeah, it's good they didn't play an Iono or a boss. And my voice has miraculously returned to normal for some reason. Not sure what happened there. But yeah, Lugia. Okay. Free retreat Scyther just in case, but doesn't really matter, does it? So we're going to be able to hit this thing for 200. So we'll get that on the bench. And we don't necessarily need anything else. Could Super Rod these guys back in. Yeah, because I have a Super Rod anyway for if we want to use Radiant Charizard more than once. I think we should be fine in this game, to be honest. Yeah, we should be fine. Right, Metal Energy on this guy. Then I'll just retreat to Scizor. And then we are painfully short, which is a bit sad, but you know. 210. Okay, so I keep forgetting we do 10 damage base, so we are 10 damage short, which is really annoying. So it's going to become a game of who has enough steam to play out this game, because chances are they're probably never going down to 1 prize. I'm pretty sure we've either lost or won at that point. So if I had to imagine Yeah, we're probably never going to be able to KO this Lugia. We just have to KO Snorlax and a Cinccino, which is easy enough, I would say. We just have to not whiff an attack, really, and we should be fine. They still have to take 4 prizes after KOing this Scizor, so yeah, I think we're still in a good position. Okay, another energy on Cinccino, not going to matter too much. I really thought they would have bossed Bibarel at this point, but maybe they don't have boss, or they just want to remove Scizor. Okay. Scyther? I mean, we might as well. We'll always have enough bench space for Zard. And I'm not sure if I have an Ultra Ball left in deck. Got 3 in here. We might have 1 left, but honestly, I don't really want to discard anything else. I think we might need Switch in case they go for the boss Bibarel. So what I will do is Colress. We're just kind of digging for another Scizor at this point, really. Colress, hopefully to find a Scizor. Game is crashing. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Please. Please don't crash. You can do it. It's like the last turn of the game. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Are we in? Are we in or have I lost? I might have timed out, actually. Let's see. Is it passed over? Yeah, it's passed over. I actually despise this client. I despise this client so much. What do you mean end turn? It says turn. I don't know what's going on, actually. It's giving me the option to click end turn, but it's not even my turn yet. What's going on? His timer's going down. It's not my timer. I have no idea what's happening. We'll wait and see. I think it's still my opponent's turn. They're not doing anything, though, which is a bit suspicious. Oh, I think I know what's happened. Yeah, I think we've both disconnected, or I've disconnected from him. And wait, what? What's going on? Your turn. But he didn't attack. What is going on? What is this game? I swear to God, I don't know anymore. I really don't. Okay, I guess. Lose Defiance Band, who cares about that? Actually, that was a bit silly. Might need Defiance Band for Zard. We'll see how this goes. Okay, right, we're going to pretend that didn't happen. So, punishing Scizors for 210. Take a price card. I've no idea why that happened. Usually it doesn't kick me out like that, though, if it times out. Usually it just, you lose, basically. It kicks you out the whole thing, but yeah, it's a bit weird. Okay, we got Cramorant. Cramorant's nice, actually. How many Colress have we played? Played 2? Yeah. So if my opponent doesn't do anything on their turn, I'm going to assume the game kicked them out as well. Which, I hope this player didn't get a loss for that. Although I rated our chances of winning this game highly, I still think it sucks if he was kicked out and he lost, you know? Ooh, this isn't good. Well, yeah, I think it's safe to assume what's happened. So, yeah, I'm not sure there's a world, to be fair, where my opponent does win this match, but you know, I'm trying to think of something that they would need to prevent it. I think they need like a Hero's Cape to make Cincino bigger. And even then, we still have Radiant Zard, so yeah. Yeah, they would need like a HP modifier to make Cincino bigger. But I think they've just been disconnected because they're not doing anything. Oh, this client, please give us TCGO back, please. Honestly, I wouldn't mind at this point if we had no TCG online for like 6 months, basically, and they brought TCGO back in its entirety. Like, I can go on for days about how I didn't like trading, but honestly, it was just a much better experience across the board. And, you know, we weren't just limited to standard, and some have expanded. We had theme deck format, we had legacy. You know, we had all this stuff. We had GLC as well. Like, that was on the rise. And, you know, I had to trade everything for this. And it's just like, yeah, I hope my opponent, yeah, I don't know what to say anymore, honestly. I'll see you all next time, though.